Yeah, so what's the story, everyone? Welcome back to another video here on An Cluiche with me, Seamus, Brady, our host. This video is going to be very similar to the last video I did on the club championship. It's just going to be a recap and a roundup. There was so much action which took place in the club championships around the country, and basically I'm just going to recap it all inside about 25 minutes. Nice and easy for you to consume, and then you'll have your GAA knowledge from all the weekend's games. Just going to run through the most basic points. And then, of course, there'll be other posts, other content here on the channel as well. Make sure you keep an eye out for that Wednesday as well. We're going to have a preview of some of the weekend's action and talk about the GAA news over the last week as well. But this one is just going to be strictly about the results which happened over the weekend, my initial thoughts on it, and then how this will affect the rest of the All-Ireland Club Championship going forward. So let's crack into this. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Help our channel out here and help out the work that we're doing. We're going to start off this one with Leinster. So I'm going to go province by province. I'm going to go Leinster, then I'm going to go Ulster, then Munster, then Connacht, including football and hurling. Any championship matches which happened at the senior men's side over the weekend. So we'll start with Dublin, and we have the Dublin Senior Football Championship final, which took place in Parnell Park at 4 o'clock on the Sunday, and it ended Kilmacud Crokes 114, Ballyboden St. Enda's 9 points. An easy victory for Kilmacud Crokes in this final. It was slightly disappointing because you wanted it to be competitive. But the issue now for Ballyboden is that is now 4 years in a row that Ballyboden have been swept when they've been knocked out. Whenever they don't win now, it seems to be that they get hammered. You think 2020, they played Ballymun Kickham's in the final, Ballymun swept them aside. 2021, they played Crokes in the Dublin semi-final, Crokes swept them aside. Last year, Nafina ate them alive in the semi-final, and this final was pretty boringly easy for Kilmacud Crokes in the second half. Obviously, we have to talk about the Shane Walsh goal. What a finish from Shane Walsh into the back of the net. That put Crokes 6 points ahead. Once that goal hit the back of the net, the game was up. The game was over. You knew Kilmacud Crokes were going to win from that point on. Ballyboden only got 6 points from playing the entire game, and they only got 4 points in total in the second half. Kilmacud Crokes' defence was outstanding, curtailing the likes of the Pascal brothers, Warren Egan, who had been amazing in the championship up until that point. They just did a superb job. Player that I really think should be in the Dublin team next season is Theo Clancy. He has really impressed me throughout the entire championship. He just looks made for that fullback position. Kilmacud now face Éire Óg in the Leinster football quarter-final. They beat St. Joseph's. We'll move on to that next. But a massive congratulations to Kilmacud Crokes. They are 3 in a row Dublin football champions. Absolutely outstanding achievement by Robbie Brennan and his side. Now, that's the Dublin Football Championship final just summarised there. The Kildare Senior Football Championship final also took place over the weekend and saw NAAS beat Selbridge by 13 points to 11. So that means that NAAS have completed the first 3 in a row in Kildare for 70 years. NAAS led 7 points to 4 at half-time with Alex Byrne and Derek Kirwan leading the way. Kirwan hit 4 points in the whole game and Byrne hit 3. Kirwan hit the last point of the game to ensure victory for NAAS. And one thing that I have to say, which is mightily impressive from NAAS, is I actually looked at the teams. On paper, I'd actually argue that Selbridge have a better side. If you're going player, like in terms of who has the bigger players, Selbridge have Mick O'Grady, Kevin O'Callaghan, Kevin Flynn, Tony Archibald, Fergal Conway and Paddy Brophy. That is a ton of experience of playing for Kildare. Whereas on the NAAS side, obviously you have Kirwan, Alex Byrne and Owen Doyle. But then apart from that, not many other big names that have clearly been involved with Kildare. So it's definitely just they're a really, really good team. They don't tend to rely too much on individuals. Obviously, Kirwan is their main forward and Owen Doyle is their main defender. But I think they're a really, really good team. And that's why they got this victory. And that's why they're 3 in a row champions in Kildare. Massive, massive congratulations to them there. Another final which happened in the Leinster Football Championship and was decided was in the Louth Senior Football Championship. That final finished St. Mary's RD 15 points, Naomh Máirtín 1 goal and 11 points. St. Mary's make it back-to-back titles in Louth. This one was tight all the way throughout. At halftime, it was Mary's 9 points, Naomh Máirtín won 5, after Cian Sands had originally netted for Naomh Máirtín. Donald McKenny was man of the match for St. Mary's in a brilliant display and a brilliant, brilliant victory for the now back-to-back Louth football champions, and a massive congratulations to them. another final, which took place in Leinster over the weekend, but this one will have to wait to be solved another day. It was a Wicklow Senior Football Championship final between Blessington and Rathnew, and it finished a goal and 9 each. So a replay is required between these two teams, and it will be a fascinating game for sure. Now, on to the Leinster preliminary round. Now, obviously, these ones caught the headlines for some good reasons and then a lot of wrong reasons. I'm going to keep the wrong reasons until the end of this little segment. We'll start with St. Lomans beating Shelmaliers by 110 to 1-8. Good performance there by St. Lomans. They will now face Kilo Young Emmets, the Longford champions, in the Leinster quarter-final. They seem to be moving really well. John Heslin, Ronan O'Toole, Sam McCartan, all to the fore again. They are moving really, really well. And I actually think that they're being underrated. I think, look, they didn't really put Shelmaliers away too convincingly, but on paper, they have a cracking team. And I actually do think underestimate them at your peril, honestly. And this was arguably game of the weekend. Era Og 2-18, St. Joseph's 3-13 after extra time. It was a fantastic game, this one. So it was a thrilling one. Adam McCarron hit the last 2 points of the game, and that got the victory for Era Og in extra time. Josh Brady hit 1-1 in that period as well. Era Og's other goal came from David Dunphy. Donald Flaherty led the way with 7 points for St. Joseph's. Brian Daly, Dylan Doyle and Danny Hickey provided the goals for them. Obviously, Turlock O'Brien is the man at the helm at Era Og. Obviously, the man who really inspired Carlo Rising along with Stephen Poacher. And you wonder now, as he goes further and further with Era Og, might Neil Carew be having a look at him and trying to get him involved? Who knows? If we go down that line, we'll go down that road. That is a bit of a throwback to 2018. But it sure was entertaining to watch them beat Kildare in the Leinster Championship that time. But for Era Og, it's a fantastic victory because, look, they rallied, extra time came about, and when extra time came about, they just had that bit between the teeth and got over the line. It's a fantastic victory and one which will boost their confidence a lot because, as I said, now they go up against Kilmacud Crokes, and that one is in pretty much their home venue. So they'll be backing themselves to give it a right good lash against Kilmacud Crokes. And you have to think Mullinock beat Kilmacud Crokes in 2018, although I think this Crokes side is far superior to that one, and I don't see Crokes getting caught again. But miracles do happen, and Era Og will certainly be praying for him because Kilmacud Crokes looked pretty much unstoppable against Ballybowden in that Dublin final. The other Leinster preliminary round, I'm sure we've all seen it, or I'm sure we've all seen the ending of it. Disgraceful scenes at the end of this game, but Summerhill did beat Tullamore by 1-9 to 1-7. So that's the Meath champions Summerhill beating the Offaly champions Tullamore to 1-7. Madness in this game. Let's just talk about it straight away. I think free kick was the right decision. Like, he's handled it inside the box. He changed it to a penalty after the advice of the umpire. Then the linesman stepped in, overruled it, and told him, no, go back with the free kick. Disgraceful scenes at the end. The referee was pushed to the ground. I've made my thoughts very clear on that. I put out a little video across all the social medias here on An Cluiche. I said that type of behaviour has no place in our sport, and I stand by those words 100%. That type of behaviour has no place in our sport, and whoever did that should be ashamed of himself. Look, Tullamore, the truth is Tullamore should have put this game away themselves in a normal time, and I think that definitely contributed to the frustration. The fact that they led for the entire game up until Kevin Ryan's fortunate goal for Summerhill put them 2 points in front at around about the 56th minute. So it was pretty much heartbreak for Tullamore that they were in control of that game and they let it slip between their fingers. And it's easy in those situations to point the finger at someone else and blame them rather than to look at yourselves and say, we threw that game away, which they did. And look, they nearly pulled it back. If they had got that free, if it had been given a penalty, maybe they would have been in, but it wasn't a penalty. And that's just how it is. So disgraceful scenes. And I completely agree with all the comments that I've got in that video. A lot of people saying, this guy needs to be banned from all GA activity. I completely agree. I think definitely at least a ban for a significant amount of time that would deter this from happening again. Because right now, if there's no consequences, then this will keep happening. I think we all know that. But yeah, congratulations to Summerhill. They carry on to the Leinster Club football quarterfinals, and it'll be very interesting to see how they get on. But they will need a better performance than that, because to trail for 56 minutes, they won't be too proud of their performance there if they're being honest with themselves. So that's Leinster pretty much wrapped up. We're going to move up north then into Ulster. I'm going to start with the Armagh Senior Football Championship final. Crossmaglen Rangers, 2 goals and 16 points. Clonmagale, 1 goal and 7 points. Crossmaglen had 12 points to spare over Clonmagale in this final. They were just simply better. Jamie Clark and Ronan Fitzpatrick hit the back of the net for Crossmaglen. They have a team that, on paper, in my opinion, can go the whole way this year. That's a pretty big statement to say, but you look at it, Rian O'Neill, Oisin O'Neill, Jamie Clark, Keane McConville, like just those 4 alone, they'd get into any club team in the country. They have an unbelievable attack, Crossmaglen. They have stuttered when it's come to Ulster over the last few seasons. And look, there's some big sharks in that sea there. You've got Kilcoo, Wally Graham's Glen, Scottstown back in there as well. Errigal Kieran look incredible in the Tyrone Championship, and Trillick, either of those sides come out, it's going to be a really difficult one for Crossmaglen. So look, it would be interesting to see, but if you're talking pure ability, Crossmaglen have as good a forward line as any club does left in the championship. So I don't see why they shouldn't back themselves. In this game, they definitely did, and they had the game put to bed pretty early on. Yeah, just outstanding display by Crossmaglen, deserving Armagh champions, and congratulations to them. Then moving on to Cavan. The Cavan Senior Football Championship final also took place over the weekend, and it saw Gowna run out 5-15 to 13-point victors over Kings Court Stars. Tiernan Madden hit 2-4. Oisin Pearson, Ryan Brady, and Darragh McConnell all hit the other goals. Gowna go back-to-back in Cavan for the first time since 2000. Now, they did give a good account of themselves in the Ulster Football Championship last season, but they didn't really go too far. They will be hoping to go a lot further this season. But as I said, it's the same issue that could face Crossmaglen, that could face Naomh Conaill. There is some serious sharks in there already waiting for them. One of them is Naomh Conaill from Donegal. They beat Gweedore by 116 to a goal and 8. Charles McGuinness impressed with 1-2. Kieran Thompson also kicked 3 points for Naomh Conaill. They led by 9 points to 2 at halftime. It's their 4th crown in 9 seasons in Donegal. So they've quietly put together a bit of a dynasty there. Look, I think they're very impressive in Donegal, but I still feel like Kilcoo, Wally Graham's Glen, Crossmaglen, just a little bit above Naomh Conaill right now, if I had to be 100% honest. But massive congratulations to them. And hey, prove me wrong. Go into the provincial championships. We've seen big shocks, and I don't even think it would be that big of a shock if they did take out one of those sides. But Kilcoo look hungry this year, and Wally Graham's Glen look very determined this year as well, especially considering they came so close to winning the All-Ireland Club Championship last year. When it happened to Kilcoo, they doubled down and went back and won it next year. Wally Graham's Glen looking to do the same this year, no doubt about that. And speaking of a down club, we also had the Down Senior Hurling Championship final. Portaferry beat Ballycran by 20 points to 16. It's the 23rd title for Portaferry. They were captained by Matt Conlon. They are into the Ulster Hurling Championship now. Slough and Rory Og waiting for them there. That will be, either of those, if they get them, a huge test for Portaferry. But absolutely massive congratulations to them on that victory. Switching back to football, Fermanagh had their Senior Football Championship final over the weekend, and Derry Connolly Harps are back on top. They won the title in 2021, lost it in 2022. They've won it back in 2023. They beat Aaron Gales Balik by 2 goals and 8 points to 9 points. Gary McKenna and Shane McGullion netted for Derry Connolly as they went back the title that they lost last year. They now face Kilcoo in the Ulster preliminary round, and I mean, that is probably the worst draw you could possibly get. I believe, if memory serves, that it was Kilcoo that knocked out Derry Connolly in the Ulster Football Championship last time Derry Connolly got out in 2021. So Derry Connolly will be looking to avenge that. But for me, no, Kilcoo is one step too far. But a massive congratulations to them on winning that Fermanagh Senior Football Championship. Another side that made amends for a defeat in last year's final was in Monaghan, where Scottstown beat Inniskeen by 17 points to 14. Last season, they lost in the final to Ballybay. This season, they made no mistake in the showpiece event. Jack McCarran led the way for Scottstown with 6 points. Rory Began, Shane Carey, and Conor McCarthy all hit 2 points each. And Scottstown, underrated in terms of how good they are. Like the names I've rattled off there, Rory Began, Shane Carey, Conor McCarthy, Jack McCarran, that's the spine of a superb team. And again, you're looking at it, like, they could definitely take a scalp or two in the Ulster Championship, no question about that. But massive congratulations to Scottstown on that victory. Thoroughly deserved, especially bouncing back from the final defeat last season to Ballybay. Now, switching from the Ulster Championship down to the Munster Championship, and we're going to the small ball first. Clare Senior Hurling Championship Final. Clonlara, 3 goals and 18 points. Crusheen, 2 goals and 15 points. Clonlara have won their first Clare title since 2008. John Conlon was the only man to be involved in both of those triumphs. Micheál O'Loughlin very much led the way for Clonlara with 2 goals and 9 points. Dylan McMahon was very impressive at centre-half back as well. Colm Galvin, remember him? He hit the other goal for Clonlara, and I feel like Brian Lohan pick up the phone, call Colm Galvin, get him back in the side. He still is a world-class hurler. Crusheen did fight back in the second half. Oisin O'Donnell particularly impressive. He hit 1-4, but simply put, Clonlara were the better side in this final and deserve to win this Clare hurling title. And look, going into the Munster Championship, be very, very interesting to see who comes out of the Limerick final in the Pearshig or Patrick Swell, who comes out of Cork. Obviously, we know who comes out of Cork, Sarsfields. Then you're looking at who comes out of Tipperary, because that obviously final has to be replayed. Ballygunner are there. Like, there's a lot of big, big sharks in there waiting for Clonlara now, as they're in there for the first time since 2008. John Conlon's the only guy who has experience of being this far, so he will be crucial. But a massive congratulations to them on winning the Clare Senior Hurling Championship. Switching back to football, we had one football final in the Munster Championship, and that was in Tipperary, where Clonmel Commercials beat JK Brackens on the weirdest scoreline of the weekend. 6 goals and 7 points to 2 goals and 6 goals in the first quarter from Michael Quinlivan and Peter McGarry set Clonmel on their way to their 6th title in 9 years. So they've had a firm grip on the Tipperary Championship. They were 3-5 to 1-4 ahead at half-time. Sean O'Connor hit 2-3. Cathal Deely and Pádraig Luran also hit the back of the net to complete that 6-goal tally. Can they go further than they did this time last year? Because they beat Nemo Rangers, and all of a sudden everybody perked up to how good they were. That they have the likes of Jason Lonergan, Michael Quinlivan, Sean O'Connor, Kevin Fahey, and yet then they fell flat on their face against Newcastle West, and no one really understood why that happened. So it is difficult to pin exactly where they are, but we'll be keeping a close eye on them, no doubt about that. Make sure you stay in touch with the contact here on the channel, because we will be keeping up with how the Munster Senior Football Championship develops. Now, we had other semi-finals as well. We'll start with the Kerry Senior Football County finals, not club. And once again, we have got the same final pairing that we got last year. Mid Kerry beat Dingle by 310 to 9 points, and East Kerry beat Rathmore by 116 to 110. So it will be Mid Kerry against East Kerry in the Kerry football final. And in my opinion, the results from last year's final will not change. East Kerry, simply put, are too good. Their side against Rathmore, they beat them by 116 to 110. David Clifford with 1-3. They eased past Rathmore, to be completely honest. Their team is Brian Kelly in goal, the former Kerry goalkeeper. Jack Sherwood, who was a vital part of Kerry in 2019. Ronan Buckley and Darragh Lyne obviously in there. Paddy Clifford, David Clifford, Kerry's 2 most important forwards, by the way, are in there. And then Dara Roach and Donal O'Sullivan were also in there. That's Kerry's 2 main forwards during the Allianz League last season. So, that's a ridiculously good team to be going up against just a club side. Because Dingle, in my opinion, have, they didn't play to the best that they could have in this game. But they have been Kerry's best club side in 2023. And I think they were Kerry's best club side last season as well, to be honest. They're going to represent Kerry in the club championship, and they've been beaten by 10 points in this game. So their confidence will be rocked after that. I don't think they'll be in the right headspace. And I do question it, to be honest. Why would you put them against Mid Kerry, who did a great job in them? Derek Cleary with 1-2, Jack O'Connor with a goal. Starting players, Killian Burke hit 1-1, Aina O'Connor hit 3 points. So the 2 lads, Derek Cleary and Jack O'Connor, they both hit their tallies off the bench. It's just one of those things. Look, can Dingle get their heads back together before going into the Munster Championship to represent Kerry? only time will tell. Like red cards for Michael Gainey and Mark O'Connor, that significantly hurt their challenge, but we'll see how they can bounce back. As I said, in the final, I expect East Kerry to win once again. The other semi-finals that we had, Limerick had their Senior Football Championship semi-finals. Adair beat Father Casey's by 215 to 212, and Newcastle West kept their hopes of a 3 in a row alive by beating Monaleen by 1-9 to 6 points. Nearly set a goal for Monaleen, but they did not get one, unfortunately, for them. Now, Newcastle West, obviously, in my opinion, are the favourites. Mike McMahon struck the only goal of their semi-final victory. Adair put up a much higher score against Father Casey's, obviously, in the other semi-final. They have revenge on their mind, as their last 2 final losses have both come against Newcastle West. And honest truth, I still would lean towards Newcastle West to retain the Limerick football title. The other semi-finals which happened were in Waterford. Waterford Senior Football Championship semi-finals will start with Rathgormack beating Onreen by 114 to 2-9, and then the NAAS, the defending champions, beat Kilrossanty by 116 to 11 points to return to the final again. Now, it's a very, very similar situation as to the one in Limerick, as the NAAS have beaten Rathgormack in the last 2 finals, and again, I think they're going to do it again. I think the NAAS are just a bit ahead of the other sides there in Waterford. And when you look at it, you know, Rathgormack beat Onreen by only 2 points. The NAAS really put Kilrossanty to the sword, winning by 8 points. So I think the NAAS are in better form, and I would slightly edge towards them to edge this Waterford football final. Now, so that is Munster wrapped up. We're going to move over to Connacht now, and we had 2 finals, and then we had the Galway Senior Football Championship semi-finals. So we're going to start with the Roscommon Senior Football Championship final. St. Bridget's beat Boyle in a thriller by 12 points to 11. St. Bridget's won their 18th championship in Roscommon. The scores of the game came from Shane Cunan and Brian Stack. At halftime, it was 5 points each. It was as tight as it gets. In the second half, Shane Cunan and Brian Derwin pushed Bridget's 4 points clear with 10 minutes to go, at which point Boyle rattled off 3 in a row, with man of the match Paul McGrath leading the way for them, but they couldn't find that winning score. And the side with the likes of Cian McKeown, Dara Craig, Enda Smith, Donny Smith are out of the club championship once again. And the fact the wait for a Roscommon title goes on, and St. Bridget's resume their grip over the Roscommon throne. Going into the Connacht Championship, it's going to be really, really interesting. Who comes out of the Mayo final, like Knockmore or Ballina? Very interesting to see that. Who comes out of the Galway final, Corofin or Moy Cullen? And in the Sligo, you've got Calera Strandhill there with the likes of Niall Murphy. It's going to be a really, really interesting Connacht Club Football Championship. Now, speaking of that, I touched on it there, that the Sligo Championship has new champions, and that is Calera Strandhill. They beat St. Willie Scales by 11 points to 8. County star Niall Murphy hit 5 points as they ended a wait of 18 years for the Sligo Football Championship. An outstanding performance by Niall Murphy, leading his side to victory. And as I said, they're going to go into the Connacht Football Championship without the slightest bit of fear. There's a few new teams in there. If Brady get through, that'll be their first time in Connacht in a long, long time. Like, same thing, Corofin haven't been there in a while. I know that they'd be very confident, and I know that they would again stick their chests out and they would be favourites, but there's some new players in that team. Moy Cullen the same as well. Moy Cullen nearly got caught in Connacht last year by Strokestown, so it's very, very interesting to see who will come out on top in that. But as I said, you would lean to whoever comes out of the Galway Senior Football Championship semi-finals, which saw Corofin beat Milltown by 313 to 212, and Moy Cullen beat Mount Bellew-Moylock by 11 points to 9. So we'll start with Corofin versus Milltown. So Corofin are back in the Galway Senior Football Championship final. Jack McCabe twice and Patrick Egan hit the back of the net for Corofin in the first half to surge 3-5 to 7 points clear at halftime. Milltown fought back with goals from Mark Hare and Cathal Blake, but it wasn't enough, and Corofin will face Moy Cullen in the Galway final, who beat Mount Bellew-Moylock by 11 points to 9, as I said. So Desi Keneally was the key man in this game for Moy Cullen. He played a real captain's role, kicking 6 of their 11 points as they returned to the final once again. Other impressive performers, Peter Cook, Offaly's Johnny Maloney, and of course Sean Kelly. 3 Keneally scores in a row meant that it was 4-1 at the end of the first quarter, and that turned out to be the winning of the game. Mount Bellew actually never led this game, but they were in contention throughout. Moycullen against Currafin in the Galway final is an absolute mouth-watering clash, because you've got Currafin there with the history they've had over the past 10 years, the dominance that they've had over the past 10 years. But Moycullen have really emerged now. They won in 2020. Obviously, they didn't get to carry on because of COVID, but they won it last year as well. And they'll be definitely looking to make it back-to-back this time around, up against Currafin, who they would have loved to have played in the final the first time. Be really, really interesting to see. And there will be a full preview coming for that and all the games coming up on the weekend here on An Cluiche. So that's going to happen on Wednesday. Make sure you check that out. Thank you so much for watching this. We're just slightly over 25 minutes, but all that GA information has been tucked into that 25 minutes for you. So that's all the stuff that happened over the weekend. Do let me know which parts you enjoyed, what your opinions were on the stuff that went on over the weekend, the matches that happened on the weekend. And until the next one here, guys, on An Cluiche, take care.